seen my favorite year. Busted! Anybody in this room who did not know that line? Okay, Linda, let's have all the lines we know. I know Peter knows some lines. You like my outfit? I only wore it once. Okay, wait. It's better with a wedding dress. Who's got one? What?
He's an actor, not River.
Swanee! Yeah, okay, who's got another one? Come, would you like a little liver? My mother says that every time I walk in the house. She's in the house! Lainie Kazan is in the house! We have a seat for Lainie's friend. You can sit inside in the showroom. Okay, are you sure? And somebody told me to say hi to Lainie because they went to high school with her, and I can't remember who it was. Oh my God, the memory, it's scary what happens here. Anyway, I have waited for, if there is a more quoted movie, not in my life, there is not. My mother and I do this short every time we see each other, my friends and I. For any of you who are young, and have not seen my favorite year. I made my kids watch it 6 times. It's required viewing. It is my favorite comedy. We had Richard Benjamin in the living room telling us the stories of how you guys made that film. And it was such an amazing, and he told us about getting Peter O'Toole to do it and how you guys, amazing. So I met Lainey 6 years ago at a celebrity autobiography, and I pounced. And she was with her very good friend. No, I know, it's shocking, right? And she was with her very good friend, Michelle Lee, and I was like, oh, please come to my living room. Oh, please come to... And she was lovely, and she said, yes, she would. And I called her. She took my call. And then she hurt herself. You hurt your ankle or something. Yeah, she hurt herself, and she couldn't come. And it was crushing. So then Steve Rawlins started playing with Lainey. And so Steve made this happen. I'm sorry that it's hot. It's literally a tundra up in my bedroom. So if you get really hot, just go upstairs, get cooled off, and then everything will be okay. So it's not, there are no accidents and there are no mistakes in this world. So today, my morning meditation, because I do calm, because and you can see how well it's working. So my calm and my morning thing both were talking about patience. I was not dealt the patience card in this life. No, I did not get that, or sleep. Yeah, I wasn't dealt the sleep card either. But I heard on my morning meditation something about patience is not about you do all. It's not how crazy you get when you're waiting. It's how you fill the time when you're waiting. And so I fill it with complaining and worrying and all of that's how I fill the patience time. But anyway, so as most of you know, I don't do color very often. No, but I got laid this weekend. Thank you, Alex. No, it was a luau. Pete and I went to Alex's luau, and I was not dressed appropriately. I was wearing black. So I thought, because always a day late, no, what is that expression? I don't know. So today I'm dressed for a luau, because now I'm ready. Patience, it takes patience. It also takes patience to get Lainey in the house. But you know, that's interesting, because the one place where I have patience is get Dolly Parton in the house. Dolly Parton in the house! She looks just like her. The one place where I have patience...
I had no surgery yet.
You look fabulous. The one place where I have patience is when I ask people to come and come to the living room. Because it takes years. It took 6 years to get Lainey here, right? And it took, it takes years sometimes. And then other times, it takes an ask. And this is James Morrison's second time in the living room. And Peter Onorati said, what am I going to do? It's like a show. It's like a variety show. I don't do anything. First of all, he sings unbelievable. Who watched Cop Rock? What? Unbelievable singer. And Steve, I'm going to do everything in my power to coerce him at some point to get up and sing. But I won't pressure him or anything. And he doesn't write per se. But he was supposed to be at This Is Us today, and he's here. We got Grace and Blessed. He's on This Is Us. He plays Jack's horrible drunken father. But he's fabulous. But anyway, so patience is a virtue. But okay, so I just want to say, before I move on to everything today, I wear a certain makeup by Clinique. And they keep discontinuing everything I wear. They discontinued my foundation twice. They discontinued my lipstick, my lip gloss. They've now discontinued my eyeliner.
Oh my God. The worst one is your bra.
I don't get that from Clinique. Victoria's Secret. So anyway, so it's freaking. So I'm off the drugs. Amazingly, I know it's shocking. But anyway, I don't go on the black market for drugs. I go on the black market for makeup. I bought like 30 of my foundations on the black market for like 7 times the price. Because when you get used to something. But I just want to give a shout out to our Harvey Helms. Hi, Harvey.
Yay,
He has fabulous makeup, and I found one that I like, and it's available. So I'm just telling you, Harvey, if you decide to discontinue it, you better let me know way in advance, so I don't have to pay double for the thing. Okay. So anyway, I'm feeling excited. I wish my mother were here and we could do this together. I wish my mother and my daughter were here because we've watched the movie so many times together, and it just means so much to have you here. Thank you. I just love you so much. I'm so excited. And my kids know you from my Big Fat Greek Wedding. That's the whole, that's the whole. That's the whole thing. So we're gonna get to that. Okay, so tomorrow on Game Changers, and maybe Laine will do Game Changers too. You think I'm pushing it? So I have this little talk show, and I come to your house. You don't even have to move. And so tomorrow on Game Changers, Jason Butler Horner. I have seen him naked more ways on stage and in movies. So he was in Ozark. He was butt naked. He was on Broadway, butt naked.
So it's nice to see his face.
It's hard to see his face, but tomorrow we'll be looking at his face, unless I can talk him into getting naked, and you just never know. And coming in September to Women Who Write, okay, everything's crossed. George Chakiris. Oh my God! West Side Story. Bernardo, for those of you who are too young to have ever seen West Side Story, and if you have, watch it. Oh my God! But anyway, yeah. So I'm waiting for the. Could you imagine? Oh, I'm so excited. Anyway, so that's very exciting. And also, why am I spacing on his name? Peg and I went to see Jeff Young and Marcus Eaton. He looked like a football player, but he was playing guitar, and he was playing it beautifully. And he is the composer of the new David Crosby documentary. He's going to come and play for us. He's fabulous. Oh, he's so easy on the eyes. Because we don't have any of that going on. I only book good-looking men. That's the secret. I only book good-looking men. And gorgeous women. What did I drop? Oh, my rose. Okay. All right, so anyway, so I told you that next month, for those of you who haven't read my book, Don't Jump, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, and My Fucking Mother. I love you, Mom. The guy in here, Lenny, was going to come in September, and he was going to do mentalism for us. Yeah. He's decided not to do that. I think he's getting me back for all those years I told him he couldn't come and participate when he lived in the house. But anyway, so he's not going to come and do the mentalism, but I'm going to read 2 pages from my book about his magic. It's called The Great Houdini. If you can see it, it's spelled W-H-O-D-N-I. Okay. Because I'm reading because, this thing's making me crazy. I used to have the fantastic multifocal lenses that you didn't have to do this, and I'm so old now they don't work anymore. Now I need extra high. They don't make it high enough for my prescription, so I'm back to this. But anyway, okay. So I'm reading because it's a literary salon, and I figure somebody should. Because we do everything else, but then also you can buy Don't Jump, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll. Okay, so, okay. I was abruptly awakened at 2:20 a.m. on Halloween morning. Thus the orange shirts. Halloween. Imagine, see, there's a reason for everything. Thank you, God. Okay. I was abruptly awakened at 2:20 a.m. on Halloween morning. March. Hey, Margie, I need you to look at something. Look at something. What are you, crazy? I'm sleeping. Or at least I was. The room was dark, save for a light streaming in from our bathroom around the corner. I could barely make out Lenny's silhouette. As my vision adjusted, I saw he was holding a towel around his leg, almost exactly at my eye level, which was comfortably on my pillow. Not yet grasping the situation, yet sensing there was some cause for concern, I softened. What's up? Tell me if you think I need to go to the hospital. He now had my total attention. What happened? What's wrong? Come into the bathroom. I'll show you. Lennie was hobbling as he led the way. His back was to me as he opened the towel. He turned. There was blood everywhere. As my eyes adjusted to the light, I saw that Lennie's leg, just above the knee, was slashed. His skin and guts splayed open like a vagina. Oh my God, you need an ambulance now! Calm down, Marge, it's no big deal, it doesn't even hurt. No big deal? Running down the hall towards the phone, the next thing I knew, I was grabbing the wall, rising from the floor. My head hurt and my lip was throbbing. There was no time for me to worry about me, but I was feeling really shaky and the room was spinning and I was sweating. So I ran to get an ice pack for the back of my neck while grabbing the phone. Man, did I feel faint. I have no tolerance for blood or vomit that's not my own. How'd it happen? It finally dawned on me to ask. I was trying to cut the bottom out of a sneaker for a levitation trick. The box cutter slipped and I sort of cut my leg instead. Sorta? Cut your leg? I called 911. My husband cut himself with a knife. His leg is sliced open and he's bleeding like crazy. Please hurry. Hanging up, I made my way to the scene of the crime. There in the den was Lennie's old sneaker, now quite bottomless, with hundreds of tiny pieces of rubber strewn everywhere. The box cutter sitting on yesterday's New York Post was covered in blood. Asshole. Moments later, the police arrived. Please step outside, ma'am. I was in my PJs, which consisted of a pair of old flannel bottoms and a t-shirt, which age had softened like silk and made almost completely transparent. I really didn't want to go out in the hallway with the police and have the neighbors privy to our business or my tits. Won't you come in, I asked sweetly. Police scare me. In a moment, ma'am, we'd like to talk to you first. But my husband's bleeding to death. Lennie, holding the bloody box cutter, ambled past me towards the door. Hello, officers. Thanks for coming so quickly, he said, smiling. This will only take a moment, ma'am. Please step outside. Shooting Lennie the look of death, I obeyed. What happened, ma'am? Well, my husband's a magician. He was cutting the bottom out of his sneaker for a trick, and he kind of sliced his leg open. When the incident occurred, were you fighting? No. I was sleeping. Catch us another time. They weren't laughing. They were staring at my face and neck. I licked my lip and I tasted. Can you tell us why you're holding an ice pack? Well, when I saw the wound, I felt faint, I said, sensing that I had something to fear. Why are you bleeding from the mouth, ma'am? I touched my wet, throbbing lip and blood dripped onto my finger. Recalling grabbing the wall, it suddenly hit me. Well, I think I might have passed out a little bit on my way to the phone and hit my lip on a picture frame on my way up. And just as I was saying this line, it made me realize it sounded like a line. And then it hit me. They thought Lennie had punched me in the face and I'd stabbed him in the leg. And I began to laugh. If only I would have thought to show them the floor of the den with the millions little pieces of rubber than Lennie's magic sneaker. Although clearly not amused, they allowed me to re-enter my home. Lennie was down on his hands and knees cleaning blood off the kitchen floor. What are you doing? I shrieked. And then I remembered that I was under scrutiny. Even injured, Lennie's OCD and my perpetual intolerance were right at the fore. One of the officers took Lennie in the living room to get his side of the story, while the other stayed with me, giving me the once-over about 20 times. And I guess they decided I was telling the truth, because when the paramedics finally arrived, the cops allowed them to tend to Lennie and ready him for his trip to the ER. Jack and Sid, now awake, were wondering why there was so much commotion in the middle of the night. Lennie's leg was already bandaged and a lot less scary. Always the sensitive soul, Jack started to cry. It's nothing, maybe a few stitches, don't worry, Lennie said. As the police and paramedics made their way with Lennie to the elevator, he was already doing tricks, taking great delight in entertaining his receptive new audience. Next Halloween, you might want to try carving a pumpkin, cracked one of the paramedics. So that's why they call it trick or treat, countered his partner. Everybody's a fucking comedian, I know. Making my way to the kids' room, I was relieved to see that Jack and Sid were already asleep. I should be too, I thought. I noticed Lenny's bloody pajamas lying on the floor in the doorway. Scooping them up, I dropped them in the hamper and grabbed what was left of the sneakers from the middle of the room. Pig, I said as I headed to the closet. Passing the den, I caught sight of the gazillion little sneaker bits still littering the floor. I couldn't stop myself. I began picking them up, piece by piece. My hands full of dead sneaker, I lumbered to the kitchen and dropped my wad in the garbage. I opened the pantry and grabbed a hefty cinch sack and a jumbo bag of Cheetos. Wrestling with the cellophane, I couldn't budge the damn thing. I reached into the sink, snatched up the bloody box cutter, and ripped the cheese puffs open, shoved a handful in my mouth, and said, God, he's such a fucking addict! Gabe, nah. Okay, so anyway, all right, now that we've had our literature and we've had our class for the day, as if. Okay, so I want to thank a few people who I could not do this without, and last month I had to because Penny wasn't here. And I just want to tell you, at 11 o'clock last month, that Tuesday night, I was crying, going, Penny, don't ever leave me again. Penny stays, and she cleans up after you guys leave, and she mops my floors again. She does everything. She's amazing, and I love you.
Oh,
and I'm so
sweet.
glad. Pete George, my wingman! Also not here last month. Fucking with me big time. Thank you. I'm glad you're back. I want you to work not on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. The last Tuesday of the month, sacrosanct. Okay, taking the best photographs in the world, Linda Absey. There are none better. Linda, nothing is ever allowed to happen to you, ever. Are we spoiled? They are the most gorgeous photographs. Anybody who hasn't seen them, you will today. They're amazing. And please help me thank Elle Latch, the beauty. Okay, is this old now? No, but it looks good, right?
It
It's
does.
good.
I
I think I'll always wear a lei.
Yeah.
Okay,
I put back the Swifty Lazar glasses.
put them back.
They're great.
All right. I know. For those of you who haven't heard me tell this a million times. So David Letterman used to do this bit about old people with big glasses, and George Burns, and like all these people. It's too bad it's over because I would be on there now. By the way, I just want to give a shout out. A regular here for many years, Maggie Baird. Her daughter, Billie Eilish, is going to be the musical guest on the opening of SNL this weekend, and she won 3 MTV Video Awards. Maggie, yay! Love you. She's a local girl. Billie took dance class at the school where my kids did, and we just saw her all the time. You just never know. She has the #1 song on the box on the Billboard's Top 100. She's #1.
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
big deal. She's like
She's unbelievable, and she's not 17 yet.
Yeah.
That's the part. Yeah, that's the part. Crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that, and I'm doing this. Okay, so if you are on Facebook and you are not following James Morrison, make sure that you remedy that now. Unless you are a Republican, then don't do it. But if you are not, James is, and Peter as well. These people have passion about what is going on, and I have passion for them. James wrote a song that I'm making him sing today called "I'm a Selfish Man." Guess who that's about? And it's not only a fantastic song because of the message that he presents, but it also is one of my favorite songs. Do you remember that song from the Coen Brothers movie, "I Am the Man"? It really you never want me singing. But anyway, it kind of reminds me of that, but it's fantastic. So James is going to do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Bless you. James is incredibly talented, incredibly warm and lovely. Drove down from Ojai to be here today. Wow. He is also very easy on the eyes. And speaking of eyes, make sure you check out his blues, because oh my God. Okay. I first remember James as CTU's director Bill Buchanan on 24, but he'd been around a long time before that. He did tenure on My Beloved Private Practice, was a regular on Hawthorne, appeared on Frasier, Quantum Leap, The X-Files, Jag, Murder, She Wrote, The West Wing, 6 Feet Under, just to name some. Recently, James was a regular on the revamped Twin Peaks. Was featured on NCIS, Major Crimes, Castle, The Twilight Zone. The man works. And he plays like an angel. A singer-songwriter, I met James about 5 years ago when he graced Women Who Write in the living room. He opened for Bob Castle and Ed Asner. Talk about an eclectic show. It's a day that remains at the top of the Women Who Write memories of all time. How many people were here? Was that unbelievable? Okay. And as today is going to be right there with it, I know it. James and his wife, tell me your wife's name.
Riyadh.
Oh, you kept it simple because the last name is, I can say Riyadh. I can't, what's her last name?
Lainie.
That. Co-directed and produced the feature documentary Showing Up, an unprecedented look at the audition with some of the most accomplished working actors reflecting on the process of how it affects them. Nathan Lane, Sam Rockwell, Eli Wallach, Kristen Chenoweth are just a few of those interviewed. James just performed his one-man show at the Ojai Playwrights Conference and will be treating us to a taste of it, as well as one of my favorite songs. James is a great big peach of a man, talented beyond compare, so damn easy on the eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome James Morrison.
Yeah, or I can use, Thank you.
James Morrison!
Thank you so much for having me back. It's been, what, 7 years?
A long
5,
time.
4, 3?
I don't know, a long time.
So I'm thinking that I should end with a song because of the nature of the piece.
Okay.
So let me
So we're going to get serious now.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Serious literary.
Oh, see, I didn't have to do literature.
Yeah, you
James is
did.
gonna be-
We loved it.
James is going to be our literature.
Briefly, just as a background to the piece that I'm going to read from the play that I wrote. It's a one-man play that I wrote based on my son's experience with brain cancer when he was 10 years old. He's 20 years old now. He's entering his 3rd year at UCSB College of Creative Studies.
Yay!
He's a poet, and in the play I use some of his poetry that's how I use his voice. But I start the play talking to him on the phone. I'm quizzing him for his psychology final, and then I come back to it at the end. The play is me sort of spacing out during that and revisiting the experience of going through the process of his surgery and recovery from medulloblastoma, which is a tumor right here. He couldn't walk, talk, or see, or use his right hand after the surgery, but he's recovered about 95% now. Due to the diligence and hope that was offered us during the process of his recovery, which is what the play is about, essentially, except that it's also about my journey to becoming a better person through his example and how he faced his cancer. So that's the premise of the play. The thing I think that speaks to us as writers, though, is because I was involved in I still am involved in a group that was founded by Risa Brayman Garcia, who's a casting director forever, Oliver Stone back in the 80s through now. She has a class for writers and actors, and we bring pieces in for ourselves or for other people, and we share them with each other, and ended up making like 8 short films last year, which is our project. Ended up being very successful in that. In this instance, she said, bring in a monologue. So I wrote the piece I'm going to read and read it for the class. And somebody in the class, and you'll all relate to this, said, I could watch an hour and a half of that.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. That's all I needed to hear. You know, when somebody encourages you to continue, which is probably why I'm still acting today, too. Somebody said, yeah, go ahead. So this is called 300 Steps, and it's written in it's the third chapter, I call it, of 11 chapters. It's approximately 300 steps from the main entrance of Children's Hospital LA to the rehab room on the 6th floor, our home for the next 3 months. I can only approximate the number of steps because though I walk it what seems like dozens of times a week, I can never finish counting. I always get distracted along the way. Walking meditation, counting your steps and breathing in rhythm, is a powerful meditation against the dark stories my mind tells me, the outcomes that it threatens me with. It's a public hospital, so on any given day, scores of outpatient kids of all ages, sizes, and severities of congenital disorders, diseases, and illnesses are wheeled in and out for treatment. Kids who go from their home to here and back again and nowhere else. A trip for them is when mom or dad puts them in a radio flyer and takes them to the hospital. I struggle to focus on my steps, counting as I walk to the room Riyadh and Seamus and I call home. Riyadh is Seamus's mother, my partner for over 30 years. She and I sleep in faux leather recliners that almost fold flat. You can run, but you can't gnaw a hide. Never really dark at night, and if we are able to fall asleep, they wake us up about 3 a.m. to ask us how we're sleeping. 3 a.m. Never fails. At 198 steps into my meditation through the maze of hospital hallways, I reach the huge, garish Tiger in the Jungle mural on the wall that marks the elevator that takes us to the 6th floor. The doors slide open. I get in, push the button. At this point in the walk, I feel like I've been eaten and shit out by tigers, but I'm driven inexplicably forward by a prehistoric body-mind survival engine that I never even knew I had in quite this way. I've always known I had to continue on no matter what, care for my son, protect my wife, and provide for them both. But here is where I want to give into the fear and be swallowed back into the earth, dissolve into the sea and stars, and forget any memory of this. Then the elevator stops. I get out. I ooze out of the elevator on the 6th floor as though my body has no bones, and continue down a hallway in a scene from John Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast. Everything's in black and white, liquid, creamy, high contrast, dreamy. Faces emerge from breathing walls, floating candelabras drip wax. I pass the room of a boy about 7, always alone, always watching the door, always waiting for someone he knows who loves him. I barely look in the room, and I just keep on walking. I pass another boy who had brain surgery more recently for a posterior fossa tumor similar to Seamus's. His posterior fossa syndrome is so severe he can't swallow or move the right side of his face. I sneak a glance his way, and I just keep on walking. Then a girl who's been mauled by the family dog. She's always alone too, her parents are never there. What kind of injury makes a family do that to each other? What are they afraid of? I don't stop and talk to her, I just keep on walking. Then a 13-year-old boy named Devin, who had a third of his brain removed, including the part where language lives. It's the only thing they could do to stop the seizures he was having. Doctors told his parents that he would never speak again, that language wouldn't jump to a new part of his brain. His dad told me that when he awoke after the surgery and saw his mother's face, he whispered, "I love you."
Wow.
I give Devin a little wave, and I keep on walking. Finally, I reach the room of a little girl I do get to know. Her name's Haley. 5 years old. I poked my head in the door, waved to her mom and dad and her little brother. They live in Hawaii. Dad's in the Marines. She has the same thing Seamus had. I say has because they didn't get all the tumor, but her prognosis is good. And because she's so young, they're not treating her as aggressively as they are Seamus. She can't speak either. All she can do is smile, which makes me smile. And I keep on walking. I'm walking faster now, as though I'm trying to escape from something. I lose count of my steps. Another meditation forces its way onto me. It's about being present for my wife and boy. Being only aware of what I'm doing here for my wife and boy, despite everything. That's my meditation now. Being grateful for the shape my boy is in despite everything. It's all I have strength for. Despite where I am, who surrounds me, despite all the heavy medical artillery they're bombarding my boy with, I must be grateful for the shape he's in. That's my mission. And I decide that it's necessary to bless the medicine. All the medicine. So I do. It's essential to my son's survival. And Riyadh's, and mine. So I bless the medicine. I have no choice. Finally, I arrive at the door of the room, the one with the sign drawn in magic marker on a paper bag that says, "Leave your fears here," which is Riyadh's way of trying to protect Seamus from our fears being projected onto him. We can't protect him from the thing that might kill him, the source of our dread and despair, so we want to control the way it's presented to him. The language that it lives in, as well as the how he perceives it. I can't feel my legs. My arms hang limply from their sockets. All I hear finally is the beauty of my own beastly breath. I go through the ritual of pretending to leave my fears here. I open the door. My home. My family. I forgot to tell you the name of the play. It's Leave Your Fears Here. Anyway, that's how it started.
Let's take this out of the way so we can see.
Now for the comic relief. I hope.
Yes, it is.
So this is, I don't have to explain who it's about.
I don't think you do.
But what I will say is, that there is a way that we can unfuck ourselves.
What?
Unfuck.
Oh.
Called Selfish Man. Oh, selfish man, don't you know I take credit for the morning. When I crow, I take what I want. I don't borrow. I drink tears, I eat sorrow. I'm a selfish man. I will prevail. I don't like to buy things. I like to make the sale. I don't like to be told. I like to tell the tale. If you succeed, then I have failed. I have cruel intent. I cut like a knife. I will raise your rent. I will steal your wife. I sow discontent every day of my life. I'm a selfish man. I'm a selfish man. I'm self-made. I take credit for the plan, long as it's well laid. I'm underappreciated. I'm underpaid. Give me loyalty or be betrayed. I'm a heartless lover, ungrateful son. I'm a greedy brother, I'm a head to run. I have no honor, I'm a thieving crook. I'm a one and done, baby, I wrote the book. He's a selfish man, you can't tell by how he talks about himself, as if he's not there. It's all about me, no one else. I'm a selfish man. I'm a selfish man. I'm a selfish man.
Did you see the picture? I want them to put that in the White House. Melania is holding hands with him, the idiot in chief, but she's eyeing another man, a young, handsome man.
Either in France, was it France or Canada? Canada? Trudeau?
It's Trudeau? I didn't,
Yeah, Trudeau.
like, it's perfect.
Actually, the weirdest thing is they're in my hometown. In the area, it's French.
Really?
That's why it freaks everybody out. Because our city is only 28,000 people. We have 17,500 military, police, and all that. So everybody's freaking out. It's kind of crazy, but that's so random.
It needs to be it needs to be the cover of the White House. Like it just needs to be there. One more hand for James Morrison. That was and James, that piece is extraordinary, and I am. So how can we see the whole thing?
The play.
Yeah.
Well, we're shopping it around now. Robert Egan, who's the artistic director of the Playwrights Conference, I've known him for 35 years, so he's the one I chose to help me, figure it out. And now we're going to shop it around to theaters. And
you need to shop it around because that's extraordinary. That's an experience that...
It's finished. I mean, it'll go through changes in rehearsal, but yeah, it is. Thanks.
That the thing about the kids who are sitting there looking at the door and waiting for somebody to come is so...
And, it does have a couple of laughs, too, so... I'll keep you posted.
Okay, good. Because we're going to come in mass when you're doing it. Not in mass is a really bad choice under the circumstances. And I'm so happy that Seamus is doing so well in college. That's really exciting. So, when this started out that I would just book people to read from their books. People who had new books out, I would just book them. And when it varies, where's Julie Summers? Where are you? Julie was at the very first Women Who Write 11 years ago, almost to the day. And back then, it was literally just people had a book, and there'd be three of us, and there'd be a celebrity reader each time. Kathleen Wilhoit was one of our first Pamela DeBars. It was very nice. And then a few months in, Lori Lieberman contacted me and said, "Oh, I wrote the words to Killing Me Softly. Could I come and read a poem?" "No, you can come and sing that song." So she did, and ever since then we've had music at every Women Who Write. And then all of a sudden, in the last 2 years, when I started doing Game Changers, I realized that there were so many people who had lived their dreams that didn't necessarily write a book or didn't necessarily sing a song, even though they did, but they were so lovely and so wonderful, and I wanted to give you all an opportunity to touch them and take a picture. Nobody laughed. Touch them. To touch them and take a picture with them, especially when they have guns the size of bowling balls. But anyway, so a few months ago, I'm embarrassing him. So a few months ago, Pete and I went to Peter Onorati's home to interview him for Game Changers, and it was a rare occasion when I didn't know the person I was sitting down with, because I pretty much know all the people that are my guests. And I was a little anxious when you don't know somebody, and he made us feel, like Pete. It was like we were part of the family. Pete's having a cocktail during the show. Peter's giving me a cigar to take home, which I realized after I took that cigar, it was a Cuban and it was fresh, that I hadn't smoked anything in 18 years and I shouldn't start with a cigar. So I gave it to Gabe, but I figured you'd forgive me. But anyway, it was just so wonderful to be in his home and to be enveloped in his world. And there were pictures on the walls about his family, and he started to tell us a little bit, and I think he's going to tell us a little bit more today. He said, what am I going to do? People read and they play music, and it's like a show. Just be you. So he's going to just be him, and I'll maybe ask him a few questions to prompt him. I don't think he's going to need it, but maybe we'll go there. So for those of you who have been around a little while, I first remember Peter from Cop Rock, and Cop Rock was a musical. What genre would you call it?
Police drama.
It was a police drama, but it was a musical. It was way ahead of its time, and he was fantastic in it. And then he went on to co-star with Mariel Hemingway in Civil Wars. You remember that? And they had that poster? They were back to back. He was on Murder One, Sex and the City, Leap Years, American Dreams, Boston Legal, Everybody Hates Chris, Murder in the First. And he's had recently a starring role on S.W.A.T. And he's got a recurring role on This Is Us. And boy, is he bad. He's so bad. And he's going back to film this week because the new season is starting now, right? I'm so excited. Even though you're so bad. And I want to thank Susie Soro, because talk about patience. Susie introduced me to Peter on Facebook a long time ago, and she kept trying to nudge him to do it, and nudge him, but she was persistent. Thank you, Susie. As was I, and Peter came through, and now I consider him a great friend, even though I've only been in his company once, but I love him. So anyway, what else do I have to tell you? I don't know what else I have to tell you. I just really adore him, and I don't care what he does up here. Just look at him. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Peter Onorati.
So I'm not used to a podium except when I give sermons at church. But I am feeling a little inadequate without an instrument in a song for you, but I'm used to inadequacy. I've been married for 30 years.
All right.
Which is 100 in Hollywood years.
Yeah.
I didn't start out as an actor. I spent 12 years in the business world. I have an MBA. I was an advertising executive in New York. And on a dare, took a class one time that led to me becoming an actor a few years later. However, if you research my background, there's plenty of material there for me to draw upon. I come from a family with stonemasons, carpenters, cobblers, and cripples. They're all there in many, 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 many stories. My grandfather, who was probably the greatest performer, was a shoemaker and a terrific storyteller, just an amazing guy, and a liar. He lied a lot. So I'm working on a few things in terms of writing. I did write a play that's at the Actors Studio now. It's called Under Construction, a play in 7 sacraments. And I don't have anything to read for you, but I will give you some of the stories that drove the creation of the play, which I started 30 years ago when I was first at the studio and just did 2 scenes there. One of the stories came from a friend of mine who's the play is about how we steep ourselves in tradition and how we accept things, whether it's religion, sociology, family, traditions, whatever it is, we just accept these things without asking questions. So the first story that drove this play, a friend of mine told me that he was at his aunt's house one time. She was almost his age, so she was a lot younger than the rest of his aunts. And she invited him for dinner, and they had a roast. So when she put the roast on the table, the ends of the roast were cut off. And my friend Eddie said, "Why did you do that?" She goes, "I don't know, that's the way my mother did it, you know?" So they're laboring, trying to figure out if this is a culinary thing, if it's, what is this thing? So they called her mother. She didn't know. That's the way her mother did it.
That's right.
A flash forward 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, they finally got a hold of some great aunt who lived with the grandmother in the Bronx, and they said, "Why do you cut the ends off these roasts? Is it for the juices to come out? What is it?" She says, "Oh no. In the Bronx, our oven was too small, so for generations." And another story that drives this is it's a story. The play is about a brother and sister who come together in their father's house. The father has just died, and so this is the vehicle by which we drive through these traditions and the thought. And it addresses Catholicism, which I was raised in, and so the other story came from actually. Out of church one day, our minister was talking about homosexuality in the Bible, and he had some pretty epiphanal things for me from what he had drawn from it in his interpretation. So there was an old gentleman who was an actor that I used to bring to my house every day after church on Sunday. He was a cop, a New York cop first. His name was Ralph Monaco. And his first job was like on Serpico when he just retired from, this is how historic this guy was. So we started talking about the sermon, and Ralph said, there was this guy one time in my neighborhood. He was handsome, and all the girls were in love with him, and he played football. He was this guy, right? And one time, he's walking down the street, past a construction site, and a brick fell on his head. I said, "Ralph, don't tell me he was gay after that." He didn't know what the hell it was. He was gay after that, right? So these are the kind of stories that flow through this play and drive it. The other thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fashion a one-man show based on my crazy relatives. My Uncle Valentino, named such because my grandmother loved Rudolph Valentino. He had polio when he was very young, and he walked with a limp, and he was crazy, nuts. The entire town knew him. He was also, and I have a picture of this, although I'm not sure I'm going to put it up at this point in history, he was a minstrel. He was an end man. And he had an approach to life that was very interesting. He was a shoe shine when he was a kid, and then he became a pretty successful stationery store owner and stuff like that. And then he went back. Once he retired, he went back to shining shoes for executives in Morristown, New Jersey, who were stockbrokers. He made thousands of dollars from stock tips. When he died, they put his license plate on his casket. It said S-H-U-S-H-I-N-E. Shoeshine. But he was a pretty particular guy, and all my uncles my father came from 5 brothers. My grandfather, the cobbler, who I think most of my storytelling comes from, as I said, was an incredible guy and also a liar. One of the stories that will, if I can incorporate it into the show as you know, as him, is he took his two son-in-laws. This was my mother's father. He came. He had three daughters. My father came from 5 brothers. So my grandfather only had 3 son-in-laws. So he took my father and his other son-in-law to Italy one time. And they're walking down the streets of the Paese, you know, where he grew up, and there's a lot of these older Italian women with the moles, with the hair, you know. My grandfather's telling my uncle, he's going, "Hey, Patsy, I banged that one, I banged that." So they get to Vatican Square. And they're standing there and waiting for the Pope to come out. And my father says, "Pop, which is the window that the Pope comes out? Because I may not get back here again in a while, and I want to be up close." My grandfather said, "Oh, it's that window over there." My uncle, the chief of police in my hometown, he said, "It's that fucking window over there. How come there's 10,000 people over there?" So my grandfather said, "Well, they'll wait in the shade. And when the Papa come out, they move over." So my father and my uncle over here, the Pope comes out all the way the hell across the Hudson. They look at my grandfather and he goes, "That must have changed." 500 years in the same damn window. One of the best stories about my grandfather is he had, I showed you the Victrola. He had this old Victrola in his cellar.
You have to explain what Victrola is to somebody.
Everybody's been in an antique store.
I'm good.
Crank up phonograph. Okay? So, you know, it was in the cellar, which is where all Italians eat meals and their feasts, because they don't want to dirty the kitchen. You know, so this thing was in the cellar, and I'm a restoration person. I have an old house, and I love antiques. So I said, "Oh, you don't want that Victrola, do you? You know?" He goes, "Nah, that's a piece of shit. I don't want it." So I took the Victrola home and I started to restore it. And I took the back panel off, and out fell a plastic bag with 4 letters, 1 picture, and a dried flower. Now, if you come to my house and you sit in the dining room, Vicki will tell you, I have all the pictures of my relatives. I had to bring back these with me, otherwise I wouldn't be able to make it here for 30 years. All the pictures, all my relatives, I don't know this woman. So I said to my mother, "Well, you know, I found these letters in the back, screwed into the back of the Victrola. They're all, you know, addressed to Grandpa. What?" She goes, "Well, when was the postmark?" And I said, "I think it was 1948. She goes, "Oh, that's when your grandfather had an affair. He got kicked out of the house." So I said, "Well, leak the story to him, see what he says." So we would always have a big Easter or Thanksgiving dinner at my house. We always had an intermezzo, like most big meals. So my grandfather came up to me before the meal and he said, "Hey, Pete, maybe if we get a break at the dinner, I come down your house, I look at them letters." I said, "Yeah, we can look at the letters." So I lived in the same town. We went down to my house and he looks and he goes, "No, this is not mine." I said, "It says Donato Scaresi all over the front." He goes, "Oh yeah, they're mine." So I asked him the story. And his shoe repair shop was in Denville, New Jersey. The next town over was Dover. So he was planning to go to Italy on a vacation. And he said, "Well, I was planning to go to Italy one time on a vacation. And this woman come from Dover. And I say I was going to vacation in Italy. And she said she have a daughter which live in Bologna. And if I go by there to look up at the daughter." He says, "Well, I was passed by that way. He was going to Naples. That's like going to Vegas to get to Seattle. Okay. I was pissed by over there. And I was look at this girl. And I was thinking I was not married. But I was. So I said, well, what happened? He says, well, she sent the letter, the picture, the flower. And your grandmother, she find the letter, she throw me out of the house. I go live with my friend Vern a couple of months in Florida, and then I come back. My mother says she remembers the woman from Dover on the phone with my grandmother, who was about this tall. My grandmother saying to her in Italian, with the flower on the phone, "You'll see this dried flower? That's the way your daughter gonna dry up before she get to my husband." So you see, like, even as an executive on Park Avenue, this is stuff that had to come out some way. I don't really like being the 11 o'clock number, or leading to the 11 o'clock number. But if you want to do some questions and answers, my friend Lynn.
Peter, tell the wedding story, the wedding music story. About you and Jeanette and your mother.
Okay. So my wife Jeanette is a writer-producer. She's her last job, I believe, was on Getting On for HBO, and she's working on they're pitching a new series to HBO soon. But she's the one that got me into the business. I'll tell you that story later. But when we got married, see, none of these cripples or cobblers or stonemasons, they don't understand what we do. So my mother put everybody, my agents, all our gay and lesbian friends, at one table. So my uncles walking in were like, "Hey, look at a Broadway table over there." Well, we had contracted a friend of mine who was a disc jockey, and my mother, who said she didn't want to intrude, but did regularly, said, "Why don't you have a band? Why don't you?" I said, "No, I don't want a band. I want a disc jockey. I want everything from big band up to what we do." So the last week, Saturday before my wedding, I get a message on my machine in New York City from the disc jockey, who's a pro, saying, "I don't know what happened. I double booked. I can't do your wedding." Not, "I'm a professional, here's another guy who can do it." The next message on my machine was from my mother. "I hope you'll reconsider, because the Herb Daniels combo is not booked for next Saturday." Herb Daniels was Herb Goldenberg, my friend Larry Goldenberg's father. He played the trumpet out of the side of his mouth. And I kept fighting for what I wanted, but Jeanette, my wife, is California casual. She grew up in Santa Barbara, nothing bothers her. She said, "I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. As long as they don't play New York, New York." That was the first song. The first song. This is how it starts. This is how it starts. You gotta back me up. But yeah, so Jeanette got me into the business. My last job was I was a director of marketing and research for McCall's magazines, if you remember that. And Park Avenue office and everything. But I was doing improvisational comedy as a hobby in all the horrible places around New York City. And Jeanette was an actress when I met her, 4 jobs. And so at one point my research had been published, and I started getting calls, and big package goods firms wanted to steal me away and stuff. And I went into my boss and I said, I'd really like to stay, but they're offering me a lot of money, you know, can you help me out? She couldn't. And so Jeanette said, well, I think you could be an actor. And I said, you mean so I could starve and have 4 jobs like you? So when I finally took the ice pack off my eye, I enrolled in a crash course in commercials from Bob Collier, who was a recovering alcoholic.
Oh my God.
And within 2 weeks, I was on hold for a national commercial. Within 2 years, I had my first job.
What was your first job?
My first job was the last season of Kate and Alley.
Oh, wow.
My first movie was Goodfellas, which is a very, there's an interesting story to the audition for Goodfellas.
Oh, yeah.
So we had already moved out here to California. Jeanette was pregnant with my oldest son, Sebastiano. And so I kept going back to do Kate and Alley. And the last episode was done filming on a Thursday, and I had a callback for Scorsese in Rockefeller Center on Friday at 12:30, and I had a 2:30 flight for my son's birth.
Oh my God!
Decisions.
So at that time when Scorsese did Goodfellas, he was, for the small roles like I got, he was hiring real mob guys or cops that chased real mob guys, you know. So everybody had the same sides, you know, the same scene to read, and if you like you, they'd find a spot for you. So the first thing that happens is I walk in and I'm dying. I got to catch my plane for my son. I'm nervous enough, and there's all these guys sitting there with silver sweatsuits and patent leather sneakers, cigars. The guy looks at me. He goes, "What are you reading for?" I go, "I got the signs for Sunny Boy." He goes, "You know him?" I go, "No, I don't know him." He goes, "I know him. You don't look nothing like him." I says, "Well, that's what they gave me." He goes, "All right, God bless you, kid." So I walk in, and I told you before, my grandfather's name was Donato Scorsese, which is the exact same spelling as Scorsese, without the S. Well, like, I was still new in the business, so I was still used to making every meeting mine.
Oh.
It didn't matter. There was my social muscles always tried to find something so that the meeting was mine. So I walked in and I met Mr. Scorsese and I said, before we read, I have to ask you if we're related, because I totally made up the story. I said, I told my grandfather, Donato Scorsese, that I was reading for the great director Martin Scorsese. And my grandfather said, I think so. We have a cousin at one time which took an S. Now I'm in big trouble because Scorsese goes, really? Because we can't find our relatives. We can't So I go, well, where's your family from? He goes, Sicily. I go, no fucking way. We're not Sicilians. We're not Sicilians. He goes, what are you? I says, we're Napolitans. He goes, you guys drink too early in the morning. He goes, you want to do this? Well, yeah, we'll do it. And ended up getting apart.
Speak to that for a moment about making the meeting your own, because that's something that I think would be of service to a lot of people in this room.
I'll tell you one of the best things in the world that ever happened to me, whether I became an actor or not, and I since gave the idea to a friend of mine who's making a lot of money doing it now. Now it's become a convention. Improvisation. If you want to learn how to heighten and explore not only the moment that you're in, but your life to a positive, take an improvisation class. If you're a writer, if you're a director, it doesn't matter, because it teaches you to glean from a moment whatever it is that you're given and turn it in to a positive direction, to a positive addition. So that was the basis what I had to do. But I was already sort of doing that because I had been in sales for 12 years. You know, I worked for Ford Motor Company.
Somebody asked, who were your clients when you were in advertising? Mary Ellen Walsh wants to know.
I called on the ad agencies because I was at McCall. So I mean SSC&B, Chat Day, Doyle Dane Burnback, all the big agencies in New York. I called on. In fact, there was McCall, because it was McCall's. They had McCall's dining room, and when we used to treat people, clients to lunch, we'd either take them to a restaurant or you could bring them to the McCall's dining room, and that was actually where Martha Stewart started out. She designed that first dining room. So there was one day when we were going to take somebody, I forget who, I think it was Laura Moore, I can't remember. We were going to take him out to lunch first and go see Ghostbusters. I hadn't seen it yet or anything. But because I'd been doing all these characters, and some of the people that I worked with had come to see some of these improv shows, they said, would you come and do the research presentation as a character? So I put on glasses that had no lenses. I had a pocket protector, and I walked in, and there was a big, a conference room table, and I started doing the presentation. And one of the clients was sitting here, and I watched out of my peripheral vision, I watched her going to one of the other clients going. This went on for about 10 minutes before the salespeople from McCall's had to stand up and go, this is a joke. It's an act, and then everybody breathed a sigh of relief, and we went out at lunch and we got the account. But but the idea is that there's a morsel of positivity in everything you're given, and if you can take that and make something else out of it, you can do whatever you want.
That's it.
I love that.
We got the whole package going on there. That was Peter Onorati, one more time. Okay, so I'm going to breathe for a minute here before I get too excited. I'm going to start by thanking Steve Rawlins for doing this. Making this possible. Steve has sat amongst us for many years, and he's been up here innumerable times, most recently with Rosalind Kine just a couple of months ago. Steve has arranged music for the Academy Awards, the Emmy Awards, the Olympics, the Super Bowl, as well as for artists like Bette Midler, Smokey Robinson, Chaka Khan, Barry White, and Benny Goodman. Television shows include Robin Williams' CBS show The Crazy Ones, Jeopardy, All Dogs Go to Heaven, The John Davidson Show, as well as being a staff arranger on The Merv Griffin Show. Back in the olden days, there was a guy named Merv Griffin. Steve's written music for advertisers and is the author of numerous music books, including How to Get Real with a Fake Book. That's very funny. 21 Bebop Exercises, and The Singer's Book of Standards. Steve's performed at jazz clubs and festivals around the world, as well as at Carnegie Hall and the Kennedy Center. And most recently, he was at Feinstein's at Vitello's with our own Lainie Kazan. Yes, so we need an encore because I wasn't around for that, and I need to see it. Well, we're gonna get it, kind of get it. We're gonna kind of get it now. So Jennifer Leitham is here to play stand-up bass for us, and that was a last-minute addition. I'm so excited. The bass is my favorite instrument. She's been known for her long associations with Mel Torme and Doc Severinsen. Back in the old days, there was a guy named Doc Severinsen. And has appeared with Woody Herman and Peggy Lee, to name just two. Now I have to not cry. Lainie Kazan began her career on Broadway in Funny Girl as the understudy to Barbra Streisand. How about that? And she got to do it twice in one day, and the rest is kind of history. Lainie has appeared on Broadway in The Government Inspector, My Favorite Year. on Broadway, for which she got a Tony nomination for that. Produced and starred in the Ethel Merman tribute, Doing What Comes Naturally, a load of regional credits, which include A Little Night's Music, The Ring, Man of La Mancha, The Rose Tattoo, Gypsy, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Hello, Dolly, Fiddler on the Roof, and Bermuda Avenue Triangle with Joseph Bologna and Renee Taylor. Oh. She's performed in the Vagina Monologues and The Exonerated. Her film credits include my favorite year, Golden Globe nominated for Francis Ford Coppola's One from the Heart, Spielberg's Harry and the Henderson, Lust in the Dust, Delta Force, Beaches, The Cemetery Club, The Big Hit, The Associate. I am too. St. Elsewhere, an Emmy nomination. The Paper Chase, The Nanny. Oh my God, I can't do this. Ugly Betty, Desperate Housewives. Oh please, just get her up here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, let's give her.
Hello, everybody. I'm so delighted to
Oh,
be
I moved
here.
it back there. So.
The little black stool. Does anybody see it back there? Can somebody bring that up for us? Thank you. I think that'll be more comfortable. Or do you want a high one? Do you want a higher one? Is that better? This one, the little one, or the big one?
I don't know. I'll switch my behind from.
Okay, let's try this one. This looks good.
Yes.
Okay. Steve, where should I put Laine?
Right there.
Right here. Put her in the middle.
And I'll put bass on the other side. Excuse me.
That one might be too low. We might need the high one.
Is this good?
Here's a
No, this is
microphone.
good.
Do we want the high one? Yeah. We want the high one because they can't see you. Yes.
I don't know how
Steve, can you hand
Word
me
it.
the?
Can I put this here? Sure. Oh, this is Coca-Cola.
I think this is. This one's going to be higher.
I just hope I don't
I'm a
slip
terrible
inside.
house. Don't no. It's.
Yeah, back it up a little.
Let's see.
Back it up.
Yeah.
Back it up.
Can I just tell you, I need to be right here.
Okay.
Great.
Be wherever you
Do
need
you mind? Yeah. This is too high.
That's too high. Okay, we go back
Yeah,
to.
I'm sorry. I'll stand every once in a while.
No, there it is.
Okay. But can you see me?
Yes.
I can.
Looking good.
We can.
Oh wait, you know what? I have this. I have this. You want this? Too high? But it has a place for your feet.
This is perfect.
Okay.
Is that safe?
Jennifer said.
Maestro. I've been so many places in my life and time. I've sung a lot of songs, I've made some bad rhymes. I've acted out my life on stages with 10,000 people watching. But we're alone now, and I'm just singing this song for you. Bows and flows of angels' hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now it's
stop right here, letter D,
Okay.
and make sure, test the mic. You should.
Hello, hello, hello. That's a little better.
Okay. Letter D,
Got it.
moons and Junes.
Here we go.
2, 3, 4.
Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave 'em laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let it show. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus clouds. I've looked at life that way, but now it's just another show. You leave 'em laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let it show. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.
I'm sure this question.
Okay, I grew up in Brooklyn, in Flatbush, and I went to Erasmus Hall High School. I went to Hofstra University, and I came from a really terrific family. Peter, I know your family well. My daddy, I had a great dad. He was a bookmaker. My father, I thought till I was about 12, I thought he was in publishing, but he was a bookie. And my mother was kind of a Jewish Blanche Dubois. And I have a sister who's a therapist, and it comes in handy. So I grew up in this family, and we lived wherever the track was open. We lived in Florida in the winters, and we lived in Saratoga. I went to camp, a nice Jewish camp for girls up in the Adirondacks, because my dad used to go to Saratoga to the racetrack. And it was fun. We would hop on a train and just have drawing rooms and little places to eat, and it was so adventurous. I just loved my childhood. And I lived on a little dead-end street in Brooklyn, and the BMT train ran every 3 minutes under my window. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing to me. And I grew up singing and dancing in the street. I had lived in on this little dead-end street, as I said, and all the neighbors would stick their heads out and encourage me to sing and dance. And I used to have an idol, and her name was Judy Garland. I worshipped this woman. I had every record she ever made. I saw every movie and had her top hat and her cane. And I thought I was Judy Garland. And so she sang for me every day. And so I would like to pay tribute to Judy and sing a song, if I may. Okay. And 1, 2, 2, 2. Clang, clang went the trolley. Ding, ding went the bell. Sing, sing went my heartstrings. From the moment I saw him, I fell. Bump, bump went the bumper. Thump, thump, thump went the brake. Oh, thump, thump went my heartstrings. From the moment I saw him, I fell. He tipped his hat. He took a seat. He said he hoped he hadn't stepped upon my feet. He asked my name, I held my breath. I couldn't speak because he scared me half to death. Buzz, buzz went the buzzer. Plop, plop, plop went those wheels. Oh, stop, stop went my heartstrings. As he started to go, then I started to know how it feels. What a spot this, not so hot this. Hey there, shy one, could you be my one? Please don't rush off, one don't rush off. I can't compel you to buy what I tell you, but I'm gonna tell you like so. You wanna have bells that'll ring, songs that'll sing. Watch the skies and baby, look gonna have me go with you. Hey, you fool, you. Why so cool you when I'm ready to go steady? Wanna have eyes that'll shine, grapes on the vine. Woman, love the tree, you're gonna have me go with you. So why the holdout? Have you sold out? Time you woke up, time you spoke up. This line I'm handing you, it's not a handout. As a team we'd be a standout. You wanna have eyes that'll shine, bells on the vine. Gonna be go with you all the time. He dropped his hat, he grabbed his seat. I said, I hope I haven't swept you off your feet. He asked my name, he held his breath. He couldn't speak because I'd scared him half to death. Buzz, buzz went the buzzer. Plop, plop, plop went those wheels. Darling, stop, stop went my heartstrings. As he started to leave, I grabbed hold of his sleeve with my hand. It was just like I'd planned. He stayed on with me, and it was grand just to stand with his hand holding mine to the end of the line, to the end of the line, to the end of the line. You're so sweet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I love you.
Thank you.
What should we do?
You got Blue Skies, you got No One at All, or the music that makes me dance?
Oh, Blue Sky.
Okay.
This is one of the first songs I recorded with my husband. We were in Funny Girl together. He was the associate musical director. And he said, let's go in the studio and try a few songs. And this was one of the songs we recorded on my first album, which was like 140 years ago. Along with Merv Griffin and
One, two, three.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but bluebirds all day long. I never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things looking so right. Noticing the days hurry by when you're in love, oh my, how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things looking so right. Noticing the days hurrying by when you're in love, my, how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. I enjoyed the two of you, two gentlemen, so much. James and Peter.
Yeah.
I really was just so terrific. And thank you, Vicki, for asking me. I've been wanting to come here. I want to write a book. So if there's anybody who wants to help me, I'd be very happy to take offers. I've had a fantastic life so far. I mean, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of things. I've met some extraordinary people. And I'm full and rich. And,
Wonderful.
yeah, it's wonderful. It does it? I thank you. It's been a great ride. Sometimes not so great, but you know, you got to take the good with the bad. I began my career, as Vicki said, in a little musical called Funny Girl. Oy vez me. What an experience. It was bad, and it was great, and it was difficult, and it was fantastic. It just paved the way for me to go through my career because it was so bloody difficult. And I auditioned for Ray Stark, who was the producer of the show, and he invited me to his hotel room, the Navarro Hotel in Manhattan, and he said, well, come up to my hotel and I want to talk to you. So I go up to the hotel and he's in bed with his leg in a cast, and his leg is up here like this. He says, come over here. So I go and he says, sit down on the bed. Believe it or not, he tried to make a pass at me. But he said to me, look, you're really terrific. He said, I want to offer you the understudy to Fanny Bryce, Barbra Streisand. I said, I don't want it. He said, why not? I said, I know about understudies. They have to do the same performance as the star. I'm just too undisciplined for that. I mean, you never know what I'm going to do next. So he said, well, we'll give you $50 more. I said, I'll take it. He sent me back in a Rolls Royce. I was living in the 4th-floor walk-up on 45th Street. He sent me back with a bar in the back of the car. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I was going to get $50 more money a week. Oh, my God. So I started rehearsals. That was the first day I met my husband-to-be. Yeah, and he was... he had been Barbra, this is really, I didn't understand. He had been Barbra Streisand's pianist for many years before Funny Girl went into production. And he was just, he was great. Anyway, we started rehearsals and I never could get a script. I couldn't get the music, that nobody would give me anything. So I spent like weeks just watching her and gleaning what I could glean from the whole situation. And the people were auditioning in the basement for my part, like Edie Gourmet and Carol Burnett and all these famous people who might, if they go on, people would maybe stay in the audience and watch them. So every day I cried, every day. And finally, we went out of town, and we got horrifying reviews out of town. I don't know how many people know that, but in Boston, we just died. So they brought in Jerry Robbins, because we had, Carol Haney was the original choreographer, and Garson Kanin, who hired me, thought I reminded him of a dark-haired Judy Holliday. So I was, it was called Funny Girl. Remember that? Because nobody thought I was funny. And they said, she's too pretty to be funny. And that was kind of the way people looked at women who were funny then. They didn't get the equation. So I finally got a chance to get a script and get the music, and I started working with Julie Stein, great composer, and Robert Merrill, and Peter, my husband, really helped me learn the music, and I learned everything. I watched every move she made. And they said to me, you're going to be able to go on. And they got the press in there, and it was an unbelievable situation. So finally, after a year and a half, I got a chance to maybe go on. And everywhere I went in New York, people would say to me, if you ever have a chance to play this role, call me. So I had a list. And I'd write their name down and their number, just if they were important. So I came to the theater one day, and they're all standing outside, the producer and the stage manager, and everybody. You're going on today. I said, I'm going on today? I had like an hour. I said, okay. So I called, so I went in her dressing room, and I got dressed in her clothes. I was smaller then, and I was all made up, standing in the wings, ready to go on, when Miss Streisand walked in front of me and went onto the stage.
What?
Yeah. By the way, I called everybody I knew. So in the morning, it said, "Show goes on, but Lainey doesn't. It ain't funny, girl." So I went back to my little walk-up, my 4th-floor walk-up apartment, and just died. And I got up in the morning and saw, my girlfriends called me and people called me, said, "You're in the papers." Anyway, I got to the theater and I was kind of like, just very depressed. And they said to me, "Listen, you're going on today, but you can't call anybody. You mustn't tell a soul." I said, "Let me call my mother." And she had a duplicate list. And she called everybody, and they all showed up, and I went on twice in one day. And for the last almost 50 years now, almost, like 45 years, it's followed me. It's followed me, and people talk about it. It was 45 years ago. Give me a break. Anyway, I never sing the songs from Funny Girl, but this past year I put a few songs from Funny Girl in my show, and I want to share one of them with you. The music that makes me dance, I have it on record. We're going to sell it back there. So it's a wonderful song written by Julie Stein and Robert Merrill. I'm very dry. Is it very dry? I cannot sing.
There was a fire a
It's
few
the
miles
air.
away, a big fire for days.
Really? Oh my God, I'm dry as a whistle. What does that mean?
Nothing. The whistle doesn't work if it's wet.
Made you cry, girl.
Okay. Can you see me?
Yes.
You want to ask me any questions before I sing this song? Oh, thank you.
I'm in the
Anybody? No? Yes.
Could you say the line from My Big Fat Freak Wedding?
Yeah.
Oh,
If you want to.
sweetheart, the man may be the head of the family, but the woman is the neck. And she can turn the head any way she wants. What a great line. Anybody else? What?
Anything else? Any other line from us?
Any other line from that? Yes, darling.
Every year you gotta do what you gotta do.
What?
I don't know, would you like a little liver? I don't know.
I'm just to address that. I was so nervous to work with Peter O'Toole. Oh my God. I mean, I worshipped him.
Of course.
And Mel Brooks, who produced the movie, said to me, "Would you like to meet Peter O'Toole?" I said, "Yes." And he was in a trailer by himself. So I go with Mel, and Mel knocks on the door, and I hear, and we walk into the trailer, and there's this guy leaning over the sink in his underwear. And he takes the towel, wraps it around his head, stands up and goes, "Miss Kazan, I am so pleased to meet you." And there he was in his little briefs. It broke the ice, so to speak. He was so fabulous, and he delighted in me, when someone is enjoying you and makes you feel so warm and welcome, there was nothing I could do but give a good performance. He was so wonderful. And I said to him, "Welcome to my humble chateau." and he hands me these flowers, and Uncle Morty says, for me? And I go, no, for me. You know, it was just, it was so easy to act with him. It was so easy. So I had all these great lines. Unbelievable, huh? I made that line up about the liver.
Did you really?
Yeah. Rookie, dust. Do you know he was an extra? And he was a doctor at UCLA. Rookie.
What, really?
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah, Rookie Karoka.
What did he say? Jews, you can't cook
Right.
that.
Yeah.
That dinner scene is one of the greatest scenes that's ever been filmed,
Oh.
ever, anywhere. You were just hysterical.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Did you love Marklin Baker?
Yes, I saw him recently.
Yeah,
no,
he's an old friend.
I love him. I saw him. I hadn't seen him in years. Okay, I'm gonna sing. I add 2 and 2. I should tell you, this is the last song that Fanny sings when she's alone on the stage, and she realizes that Nikki Arnstein will not be coming back because she's in jail. A bookie. I add 2 and 2, the most simple addition, but swear that the figures are lying. I'm a much better comic than mathematician, 'cause I'm better on stage than at intermission. And as far as my man is concerned, if I've been burned, I haven't learned. I know he's drowned when the sky and the ground started ringing. I know that he's near by the thunder I hear in advance. His words and his words alone are the words that can start my heart singing. 'Cause his is the only music that makes me dance. He'll sleep and he'll rise in the light of 2 eyes that adore him. Bore him they might, but they won't leave his sight, not for a glance. In every way, every day, I need less of myself. I need more him. I need more him. 'Cause his is the only music that makes me dance. 'Cause his is the only music that makes me dance. Oh, no, I don't.
don't
I can't believe this is happening.
I don't know what, do I remember you? Do you remember that?
I remember you, but we didn't really keep it to say, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
You don't remember.
Okay. I'm gonna dedicate this to Peter Daniels, my hubby, who's no longer with us. Okay, let's try and do this. I don't know what key I sing it in, but
It's in C, you want, that's about
we'll
it.
try it. Yeah.
Okay, about it, kind of.
I remember you. You're the one who made my dreams come true. A few kisses ago. I remember you. You're the one who said I love you too. I do. Didn't you know? I remember too a distant bell and all the stars that fell like rain out of the blue. When my life is through, and if the angels ask me to recall the thrill of it all, then I shall tell them I remember you, Peter. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you guys next month. Thank you for joining us on live. Ooh.